What's going on, everybody? My name is Jamie Cherry, talking about IULs. Anybody who's on here, I would love to share with you one of the best ways that we've found to set the table with an IUL client. You've heard of setting the table, saying, hey, here's what we're going to do today. Here's the information that we're going to go over, really preparing them in the sales psychology to be able to buy. So setting the table is one of the most important things that we do in insurance sales. So setting the table with the IUL is equally as important. So I personally like a 2-call close as opposed to a 1-call close when it comes to an IUL, especially doing telesales. The first thing that I want to do is make sure that they understand what an IUL is and what the benefits are. I want to talk about the couple of different structures that are available for an IUL, and then I want to figure out what the amount that they want to save into their IUL is going to be, and you can do that in a very simple way. And then after that, break with the client and actually go back and do some homework, run a couple of illustrations, and come back on an appointment with them to actually go ahead and present that illustration. So simple as this, if I'm going to go ahead and get an IUL lead that comes in, maybe it's Bob, and Bob put down that his primary goal was he wanted to save money for retirement and that he's 40 years old. Hey, Bob, this is Jamie. I'm just calling because you filled out that form on Facebook, looking at more information on IULs, Index Universal Life. It was the one where you put down that your primary goal was to save money for retirement. You remember doing that? Yep, absolutely. Okay, great. I'm actually one of the underwriters who is assigned to you here in the state of South Carolina. It's going to go ahead and run through those different options with you. Had you been researching IULs online already, or you just kind of scrolled past an ad on Facebook and thought, hey, that sounds like a good idea to go ahead and get some information? And they're going to tell you one way or the other, oh yeah, I've been looking at stuff. Okay, great. Or, yeah, I'm just looking to get some more information. Okay, perfect. Great. As I told you, I'm just a licensed guy. Hey, I just sent you a text message over with a copy of my state license, all my credentials, carriers, etc. So you can go ahead and verify that I am who I say I am. I'm just going to run through, a couple reasons why people typically get an IUL and the couple of structures that are available. And then if you have any questions, we can run through that. So, IUL, Indexed Universal Life, it's life insurance. Did you know it was life insurance? You're going to say yes or no. Yeah, I knew that. I kind of researched it. No, I had no idea it was life insurance. Yep, so Indexed Universal Life is life insurance. There's 2 different kinds of life insurance: term life insurance and whole life insurance. Term life, it's kind of like renting a policy. You'll have it for 10, 15, 20 years. It'll eventually expire. There's no cash value, really high amounts of insurance for cheap because it is a term and it is like a rental. Then you got a whole life, which is designed to last for your whole life, and it typically builds cash value. And IUL, Indexed Universal Life Insurance, it falls underneath that whole life bracket. Does that make sense? Yes. Okay, great. So the biggest differences between, Indexed Universal Life and a traditional life insurance are going to be some of the ways that, cash can grow and some of the other benefits. So really there's 5 reasons people get an IUL. The first 2 are insurance related, and the last 3 are cash and tax related. So the first reason is because of the death benefit. If you were to pass away, your beneficiary is going to get a specific amount of money, just like traditional life insurance. The second reason are the living benefits. So death benefit if you die; living benefit if you have a living benefit qualifying event, which is a heart attack, stroke, cancer, become disabled, need long-term care, critical illness. There are dozens and dozens of different qualifications. You get access to that death benefit while you're alive. It's also called an accelerated death benefit. So money for your beneficiary if you die, and money for you if you become sick or disabled. Does that make sense? Yes. Okay. So that's the insurance side of an IUL. And then on the cash accumulation side. So cash accumulation is number 3. You have the ability to accumulate cash inside the policy. Have you ever heard of a 401k? Have you ever had a 401k? Yes. So this accumulates in a similar way to a 401k, but not quite the same. So a 401k runs on what's called a variable index, and an IUL runs on something called a fixed index. So without getting too deep into the weeds and trying to confuse you, all of that means is your 401k can go up and down, meaning if you've got $100,000 in the policy in your 401k, market goes down 10%, now you have $90,000. Market goes up 10%, now you have $110,000. With an IUL, we get to participate in the gains of the market, but we do not participate in the downside. So if the market gains 10, everyone with a 401k is going to get 10, and we might only get 6 or 7. But if the market goes down and loses 10%, we get 0. 0 is the hero. Okay, so we have the ability to accumulate in an IUL, and we're using indexes like the S&P 500, just like 401ks. And at the end of the year, the money that you put in, let's say you put in $100 a month, a portion of that money is going to go towards the cost of insurance, and a portion is going to go into a cash value savings account. So number 3 was you have the ability to accumulate cash similar to a 401k in a life insurance retirement plan or a cash value savings account that's going to be credited an interest rate. That's number 3. Number 4, we've got tax-free growth, meaning that you got things like capital gains tax, etc. This money's able to grow tax-free, and you're able to take loans out. Number 5, tax-free and no penalties. If you've got a 401k and you try to pull money early before retirement age, 10% penalty, so on and so forth. When you take a loan from the cash value of your policy, you're able to take that tax-free. So those are kind of the 5 benefits of, an IUL. So is that what you were looking for or something different? And typically they'll say, yes, that's what I was looking for. Oh, I actually have a few more questions in regards to that. And then the last thing that I want to do before I'm really getting into, following up for the next appointment is I want to talk about the 3 different structures of an IUL. So, Bob, those are kind of the 5 reasons that people get an IUL, but it's also equally important that you understand the couple different ways that this can be structured. It's important that agents discuss this with you. If an agent does not discuss with you the different ways that an IUL can be structured, they're either an inexperienced agent or there's someone who's trying to pull a quick one on you. Us as agents, we do get paid on the amount of life insurance that is sold. And if it makes sense to get you a policy with a lot of life insurance, then that's what we'll do. But if it doesn't make sense, we want to make sure that you know the different structures and what's going to be most beneficial for you and not what's going to be most beneficial for the agent. I think the client really does appreciate that when you're transparent with them about how it works, because if a lot of the times if an agent does not share that, it's typically because they're trying to make a bigger commission. So, hey, and Bob, there's 3 different ways that we can structure this policy. Number 1 is a protection focus. Number 2 is a cash accumulation focus. And number 3 is somewhat of a blend between the 2. So a protection focus means, let's say we had $100 and we're putting into our policy. Let's say $80 of that 100 is going towards the cost of insurance and $20 is going towards the cash value. So we've got a lot of life insurance and whatever's left over is going towards the cash value. The main purpose of this is to have as much coverage as possible that's designed to last you for your whole life. That's the goal here, and you're going to have some cash value. A growth focus plan is we are literally going to do the minimum legal amount of life insurance inside of the policy with the maximum amount of cash growth to help you grow this as quickly as possible so that you can have retirement tax-free income later. So maybe flip it on its head. Maybe you've got 20% going towards the cost of insurance and 80% going towards the cash value. And then you've got somewhat of a blended option, which let's look at it as 50-50. Those 3 options make sense. And you ask people, like, what do you think you're looking for? A protection focus, growth focus, or somewhat of a blend? And you're going to get every answer across the board. Most of the time I get people who say either a growth focus or a blended focus. I sell a lot of protection focused IULs in like a mortgage protection scenario because we're trying to protect, a big death benefit there for a big debt. But when it comes to retirement income, a lot of the time someone does want the money to grow as fast as possible. And you just got to talk about the different benefits and make sure you're very transparent with people. And now at this point, it's like, hey, Bob, before we go, I'm going to do some homework for you. What I'm looking to do is I want to draw up some spreadsheets for you, some illustrations, some different options that we can see how this can work for you now that we have a better idea of some of your goals and why you're really trying to do this. What is a dollar amount that you feel like you could commit to saving into a life insurance retirement plan for the next 5 to 10 years where, you have the intention of increasing it later, but it's not going to stress you out. It's not going to take food off the table. What do you think that you personally can save into a policy hypothetically per month? And I'll drop some different options for you. And you'll get everything from $50 a month to $5,000 a month or $500 a month. You're going to get everything in between. And that's what you need to be able to go to the table to actually run an illustration for somebody, is figuring out what they need. Now, if someone's like a $50 or $100 a month, I typically will say, hey, let's just go and get you kind of a starter policy. And typically we'll do something that's a little bit more protection focused, because $50 to $100, especially later in life, is not going to accumulate to some crazy significant sum in the next, 10 years if they're 55. But somebody who wants to put in a significant sum of cash, we can talk about more of a cash accumulation focus. And again, it's all about just being very transparent with the client. So, now that I know kind of what their dollar amount is, I know what their target premium is going to be. They're going to say, hey, I want to put in $500 a month, $1,000 a month, $1,500 a month. And then I say, okay, I'm going to come back with a couple different options, one illustration at $500 a month, and another at $1,000 a month. And when can we get back on the phone to run through those illustrations? And I'm going to go ahead and set up another appointment to go through it. I typically don't go through the illustration right there on the same appointment unless the client is just like really anxious to get going, especially when it comes to some of these bigger sums of money. Clients who want to put away $2, $3, $4, $5 a month. We had one client who wanted to put away $80,000 a year into a policy. So, that's quite a bit. So you want to make sure that it's structured correctly, that you call up, ask a specialist, that you get on with another IUL expert, within the organization, and you help them structure that. So we set another appointment, we get back on, and we walk through the illustration, and maybe it's a good fit, maybe it's not a good fit. But I think the best place that you can start is learning the structure of how to set the table. Because if you learn how to set the table, you can be a beginner who knows nothing about structuring policies, and you can leave that phone call with an appointment booked and then go jump on with somebody on the SRS team or somebody in your management team who can split the policy with you and help run that illustration for you so that you can go ahead and learn. So setting the table is the first step to getting into IULs. That's the first thing that I did, was I started calling up, my leads and setting appointments just like this and getting all the information I needed, then bringing somebody on to help me close the deal and splitting it with them 50-50 until I didn't need them anymore. So that's my encouragement for you guys. If you can learn to set the table for an IUL, and the next step is learning all the nuances of the illustration. So we believe in you, we're excited for you, and we know that getting into the IUL business can be kind of scary, but just get started. Just learn how to set the table, and everything else will come. We appreciate you guys. We'll talk to you next time.